I've had experiences with God. I just want to share a couple of them with you. I remember growing up and really seeking God as a young teenager, being filled with the Holy Spirit. And I had my first angelic encounter when I was about 16 years old. And I didn't really know what to think of it. Seeing an angel for the first time, it just kind of a silhouette of this being appeared in my room, but I knew it wasn't demonic. I knew it was of God. And he just looked at me and he just kind of vanished away. And I remember seeing a vision in my house of these angels ascending and descending upon a ladder over my house. And I didn't realize at the time that God was preparing me for further miraculous encounters. And so fast forward, as a pastor and minister, one particular time I come from England and I was on the plane. I remember as I'm just staring on the plane, all of a sudden, like at the snap of a finger, I look up and I'm in heaven. And the first thing I thought was that my plane crashed, and I thought, man, I didn't get to say goodbye to my wife and my children. And then that thought kind of faded away. I knew I was in heaven, but it was plush and green. It was like there were clouds, but there was just this golden, it's hard to even explain it. There was just glory everywhere, and the green pastures everywhere. And I remember just kind of basking in that presence and trying to figure out, just kind of what all of this means. I remember as I was getting in that mode of trying to settle in heaven, immediately I began to go back into, it's like I came back into my body, if you will. I don't really know how to explain it, and as that was taking place, I saw the face of Jesus. And the only thing I can tell you is when I looked in his eyes, they were like flames of fire, full of love, full of truth. It's like he was looking right through me. There was not anything that was false in him. He was just the physical and spiritual embodiment of all truth. And as he looked at me, I heard these words. He said, "Tell my people there's so much more." And as that happened, I just came back to, and I was just kind of like looking around, trying to figure out what had just taken place. I remember on another occasion, we were invited to preach at a church. We began to call people down to the altar. And one particular couple came down. They were former pastors. And the wife had melanoma on the skin. She had this skin cancer and she was terrified. She began to cry, began to weep. She said, I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to, I don't want to be a statistic. I want to minister for the Lord. And I remember just listening to her and thinking to myself, God, please touch this woman. And as I was getting ready to pray for her, the Lord spoke to me and he said, don't lay hands on her. But all I want you to do is tell her these words: she shall live and not die. And as I told her that she should live and not die, the glory literally came into the room, began to just sweep all over the place. We felt the glory. The best way I can describe it is like a blanket of bricks was thrown on top of us. The young lady that was behind her, that was an usher, she literally fell under the power of God. The woman that was being prayed for, she fell under the power of God. And we nearly came down ourselves because there was such a weight of the glory. She was on the ground for about, I would say maybe 10 minutes or so. As she was resting on the ground, most amazing thing happened. She got up from the ground. I remember just seeing the glory all over this lady. She was just excited and she was just at peace. And she said to me, she says, there's such a peace and such a presence that I feel. And I said, thank you. And she said, I just really thank you for praying for me. About 2 days later, we were preaching on a Sunday. We got a message from this lady. She said that as I was in the shower a couple days after you guys prayed for me, she said all the cancerous growths on my body began to wither and they began to fall off of her. And she was totally healed and delivered. And not only that, but we began to follow up with her later on, and she was actually still healed. She told us that growths that some of the older growths had fallen off, and all the newer growths, they started to fall off as well. It's really, really miraculous. These situations have really changed my life. They've changed the way I've seen miracles.